Knight Frank is a commercial property organisation. We have about 850 employees in Australia, spread across multiple locations. And it's quite a complex organisation. You might not think that, when you look at it as a real estate organisation, but because we do everything from what we'd sort of say commercial agency to the buying and selling of, large skyscrapers. And then we also have a professional services business. I came to Knight Frank just over 4 years ago and was a little bit surprised at the lack of systems that we had. We were using the payroll system for some things. We had a system that we were using for onboarding and performance management, but it was very basic and very much disliked by the business. And then pretty much everything else was run through spreadsheets. So that was one thing that was a big priority for me coming into the business was, creating an environment where we had a better user experience from an onboarding, a recruitment.
We realised an out-of-the-box solution was not the answer. We needed something really customisable and really flexible, and that's really how we ended up with Zoho. It's user-friendly, it's flexible, and ultimately worked for what we needed.
My team, or I'm responsible for everything to do with people in the business. So that ranges from talent acquisition or our recruitment side of things. So obviously they use Zoho Recruit, and through to the operations team who kind of do all the behind the scenes stuff. So again, they're using Zoho People and also Zoho Recruit. Then we have a specialist reward and performance team. This is, like day in, day out using Zoho pretty much for everything. So the reason why we decided to go with a partner, and having had that experience, done it without a partner and with a partner, I knew that it was really important for us to work with someone else to help us through that process. So yeah, I'm so glad that we chose CCG.
With Knight Frank Australia, we have been engaged with them since the late part of 2021. We've gone through and we've introduced a whole range of new systems and processes to help them with their entire employee management process.
We really sat down step by step to really understand how Zoho would come into the processes that we already had, what steps would be taken over by Zoho, and ultimately the result was a really efficient process.
So we had a whole lot of challenges around a very complex approval mechanism that we needed to go through a whole range of different processes. So things like requisitions, things like employee changes and whatnot. There was a matrix style of approvals that the business needed to work through. So the first thing we needed to do is validate, is Zoho People actually capable of dealing with this very, very complicated structure which Knight Frank has? And so we went through and we did a whole lots of tests, confirmed that yes, it is possible within Zoho People. There is native integration between Zoho People and Zoho Recruit. However, what we found with Knight Frank's particular requirements was that it wasn't quite meeting their need. We needed to have an area whereby we could firstly do referrals. So if there's people which are within my network and I think that they would be great candidates to work for Knight Frank, then I can go through and submit a referral request form, employees that might have worked for us, which left the company and have come back. And so there's some scenarios where we needed to build that out. And so we've done that within Zoho People, and we use Zoho Flow then to take that data from People into Recruit, making modifications to the system that can be done without code. So it might be adding new fields, it might be creating new workflows, it might be introducing approval processes and things like that, which the Zoho ecosystem and Zoho platforms are really, really good at doing. It's a lot easier for people to manage, people inside Knight Frank, the IT team, the operations team here, to see what's going on.
They really took the time to understand us as a business and what we needed. Ultimately, we wanted to build something that would capture every different type of remuneration that we have, which in an organisation of this nature is quite complex.
One of the big challenges that Knight Frank had prior to implementing Zoho People was that every time there was a new employee to come on board, to go through this massive long template and determine which particular clause should go in this contract. So what we did is we designed a structure in Zoho Writer whereby we've had a significant number of conditional rules. But then the next thing we need to do is get a digital signature. And so we implemented Zoho Sign associated with this. And so when the process has been merged, when they've got the contract ready, we send the contract out through Zoho Flow. So it goes and picks up the mail merged contract that's been uploaded into Zoho People. It then sends it out through Zoho Sign to go and get collection. Once it's been signed, then that brings it back into Zoho People for us to then go through subsequent actions where we can kick off our onboarding process and collect more data.
So we worked with Michael and the team at CCG on our rollout, engagement and comms plan, because that was really important to us, is to have a plan where we were kind of giving people little teasers to say, it's coming, and create a bit of excitement about it. And then on the, big launch day, making sure that we had, people out in the business who could kind of provide the on-the-ground support.
It's been a life changer, pretty much, having somebody who understands the system inside and out. CCG have completely custom built our ETF process, our employee termination form. So this allows managers to go through and submit termination details as resignations are provided, but it also caters for other scenarios when people are leaving the business. So, unsuccessful probation, redundancies, retirements, any kind of leaver reason that we have, it gives us a way to capture that information all in one place.
If we look at an abridged version of the recruitment lifecycle, starting off at raising and reviewing of requisitions, drafting of job ads, and then sending those ads for review to the hiring managers, and then finally uploading it through to our job board partners, everything I do is via Zoho Recruit. As we move through the recruitment lifecycle and candidates start coming in, I am able to review the candidate information, send this off to the hiring manager for review, set up interviews, and then finally close them out once an offer is made. The user experience in Recruit is incredibly seamless. Because of the volumes we are working with, efficiency is very important. If we click into the profile, I can contact, call, and text right out of the system. I don't need to leave Zoho Recruit. It does speak to Microsoft Teams and Outlooks and links them up very seamlessly. Another amazing feature that I often use, and one for any good recruiter, is a red hot database. Because of the employment market at the moment and how tough it is, we often get very good candidates, multiple candidates for one role and only one role to offer. What that means is that we have to try and retain any good candidate that we have that we feel is great for our business. When I get a role that is similar to the one that we've just recruited for, all I need to do is go into the tags or our database and it will show me a list of candidates that fall under that tag. Now, this might seem really trivial, but being able to offer our hiring managers already vetted candidates very quickly is crucial for business.
We had a pretty poor system that we were using for that previously, and people were pretty frustrated with it. Yeah, I think using Zoho for everybody was a kind of a welcome relief, that it was quite user-friendly and also aligning people's KPIs to our organisation strategy goals. That all of that was pretty easy for us to do in the back end.
So the team here at Knight Frank, they utilise all of those capabilities probably for the first year and a half, maybe 2 years of the system, and it provided them a lot of insight and capability. However, as with most systems, you get to a point where you're craving the next thing. I want to understand a little bit more about the data. I want to understand, why certain triggers happen, and how do I get better insights? And that's exactly what happened here at Knight Frank.
I think it had an immediate impact on the business, just in terms of access to information and access to accurate information. So one of the things that was really important to us was about how we were going to get analytics and visibility of what was actually going on in the business. So here's a report with all of the information that you need, not just about that one person, but about, teams, and, you could split it and dice it however you needed.
And so what we could do within Zoho Analytics is we could bring that data in, apply a rule to say, if it looks like this, display it as like that. And so we could build all of those rules into Zoho Analytics, design a structure, design an output which makes sense, then build up the schedules to automatically email the relevant people those reports on a scheduled basis.
Zoho, for me in particular, but also the wider business, has been very much a game changer. Zoho has given us the opportunity to not only still gather the information that we need, but it's completely changed the way that we do things.
Other thing was around kind of the interface with payroll and with finance, whether the information they were getting was accurate, because you had so much human intervention. So that was a big win, and kind of being able to show to them and to validate actually what we, making this investment was the right thing to do, because now you get it, You get a report, it's all automated and it's all correct.